Groove Builders, welcome to the workbench. We have our Japanese Toyotomi Armor in some really awesome metal earth packaging. And I have to admit, I'm really excited to build this build. It's been one I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm very excited that everyone voted for it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. On the back, we get a brief instruction on our model, followed by the history of our armor. Very cool. Then just below, we get a look at some other models in this series, followed by a QR code which we can scan to get a 360 look at our build as we're putting things on. This is handy when we're putting little bits of detail and we need to figure out the orientation. And finally, at the bottom here, we have a difficulty rating here of just over medium. Let's go ahead and open up our package. We have our instructions. And we have our 2 sheets of metal. Looks like one black sheet and one gold sheet. Oh wow, look at all that detail too. Really neat. Alright groovers, let's go ahead and get building. All right, and there we go. All of our cutters are away, and we have all of our pieces needed for that first page of building. Now, the first thing we're going to be doing is actually constructing the mask, and it looks pretty straightforward. Now, you'll notice there's 2 sides of the piece. There's the shiny side, and then there's this other side that has like this matte finish with all these little dots. Now, this side is the side that we're actually going to bend. This is the side you want to see on the outside. So we're going to fold this backwards, and then we're going to fold this around. Now, how do we go about getting that kind of domey-ish looking shape? Well, there's a couple of ways we could go about doing it. We could grab it right here at the center, and then bend down here just a little bit. And then what we can do is we can kind of fold the metal here by bending it like this slightly, and then just slowly bend the metal until it touches. That would be one way of doing it. However, with this one here, there's a bit of a detail that we're going to be missing if we do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a definition tool here to help me try to get that. And what I'm doing is just kind of rolling this a little bit. And that's going to create that definition that I want. Now, I'm not making a perfect cylinder here because this is not a, or a perfect cone. This is not a cone shape. This is a kind of a weird, shape, to be honest with you, but we're just going to create that little bit of definition to give it that little bit of a pop look. All right, now there we go. We got that little nice roll action there, and we can kind of bring these guys together now. You know what? I'm actually going to do a little bit more right there too. Sometimes you got to round that edge off just to get it really nice. Okay, bend that back just like that. There we go. And now what we can do is just bend this around. All right, when we get to here, what we need to do is grab these little tabs at the back and then bend them out. Just the 2 ones there in the middle. We're going to use those a little bit later. So I'm just going to overbend them, get them right out of the way. And now we should be able to insert our tabs here. There we go, all nice and secure. Now these guys are all flat, and unfortunately I can't really hide the tabs on the back end, but this looks really good. I think we achieved the right shape, and although this isn't the most curved back, I think I can achieve it just by taking my tweezers here and pressing a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. Let's see if we can get that here. Again, we don't necessarily want a sharp shape, but we definitely want something a little bit more. You know what? I really should have maybe curved the top portion before installing it, because I feel like I don't have the right shape I want here at the back now. I mean, we can fix it. We can get it going. Don't worry. We'll get her going. But I wish I would have done this a little bit differently. And maybe I wish I would have used my tweezers just a little bit more, or used my tool here to help me get that edge a little bit better. But regardless, we have it here now, and I think it looks pretty nice. Let's put this down now. Now with part number 2 here, it's really important to remember that we're going to be using the engraved side, not the non-engraved side. So that's the part here with all this little bit of detail. And we're going to be bending it and shaping it and giving it some definition. Let's go ahead and start by bending these cheeks here. It looks like these cheeks go actually like right back. There we go. Bring that down a little bit there. Okay. Now, I almost have that definition it wants me to create there, just by bending the two halves kind of somewhat equally. But I'm still going to run a tool through it just to, again, give it that little bit of definition that I want. Let's do one of those. Okay, that looks really good, I think. Now with this piece here complete, we can just go ahead and move on to the next part, which is forming the neck. Do this like this. And now this here gets slightly bent. And instead of using my tools like I've done, I'm going to just use my tweezers. Now the trick here, if you're using tweezers like I am, is to actually bend several small bends rather than just trying to do it in one big go. You'll get a nicer shaping this way. And you can also go over it several times until you get the right shape that you want. If you're one of those people that really likes to try to match the picture, or really tries to get all of the pieces in their right places. There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think that looks pretty cool. Now we can put this little bow on. The bow is really easy to do too. All we're doing is just actually taking the top tab here, and we're going to bend it back. And now for the lower tab, that one's a little bit harder to get to, so we're going to use a finer set of tweezers here. Okay, great. Now the insertion holes here can be a little bit hard to see because of the blackness of this piece, but if you look carefully, you will see them. There we go. Cool. All right. That bow actually looks really neat, and if I kind of tie it correctly, I can maybe even make it look even more realistic. But we'll wait till a little bit later to play with all that. Let's add the next piece on here, which is going to be part 5. This is a little bit of face detail, and we're going to use a few of our tweezers, I think, to be able to get this successfully done. This is the mustache here. Now, because these tabs are actually slightly bent, it's a little hard to get them in, but once you do, they actually stay really good. See? Also with this piece, just make sure that you have the detail facing up. You want to see that mustache detail. That's a really good mustache. Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right, now we put the nose on. Nose job. Our nose here is attached the same way. We're just going to do a little twisty here. Okay, there we go. Our nose is attached, our mustache is attached, all of our facial details are attached. We're going to move on to the next step here. This has us bending part 6. And what we're going to need to do is take part 7 over here, just off camera. Sorry about that, everybody. And then what we're going to do is we're going to form kind of a post. Best way to describe it. Let me show you how to do this. Just like that. See? Very easy. Now that we have this little post here, there we go. Now, there's two sides to this. There's a side that's slanted, and there's a side that's straight. The side that's slanted needs to go down. It needs to go away from the piece here, which is part number 6. So keep that in mind. And what we're going to do too is make sure that the longest side is actually facing I guess the bigger side of part 6. There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And now we grab our face here, and we're going to put this on the inside. Let's see here. It's really important here to make sure that we have as much of a tab as possible when we're securing it. This way, everything stays nice and symmetrical. If it's not, and you don't have everything, you'll find that your parts are either wobbly or maybe misaligned. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's go ahead and attach our hat now. Okay, there we go. Again, because we didn't get that perfect shaping, getting all those tabs in was a little bit tricky, but at the end of the day, we still did pretty good. Now that we have that piece in though, we need to move on to the neck piece. It's part 8, and part 8 is kind of formed, well, very similar. Now we're going to be doing the non-engraved side, so again, that's not this side, it's the side that's shiny, and we're going to be connecting it along the top here. I should say it's not the neck, it's actually a top piece. I don't know why I thought that. So anyway, now what I'm going to do is use one of my dapping tools here to help me get the right shape I want. There we go. There we go. That little brim there is now attached. Layer by layer, we're getting some pretty cool detail on here. All right, now with that done, let's go ahead and move on to the next phase here, which is placing this really neat kind of bottom piece to the helmet. Same kind of thing as before. We're going to be doing a kind of a shape here, and what I'm going to be doing to get this kind of cylinder shape is using one of my tools to help me. This is a dapping set. I'm just going to roll her just like that. That is awesome. Look at that helmet. That is so cool looking. I mean, geez. All right, now that we have this piece here, we have part 10 here. Let's go ahead and attach this on. There we go. Awesome. Now we grab this little bit of detail here. You'll notice on this little guy, there is no engraved detail. The only thing that really matters with this one here is to make sure that you're putting it on to the right area. That's it. There we go. Grab this little tab here. Push her down. And there we go. Awesome. That actually looks really neat. Let's grab part 12 here. We just broke a tab. Oh no, it's okay, it's pretty in there. We're not gonna be moving it too much anyway, but I can't believe we just broke a tab. Oh, that's gonna be our little secret. Let's move on to the next piece here, which is going to be part 13. What happened? Nothing happened. Now, part 13 here, what we wanna do is we wanna fold to the non-engraved side. And because we're kind of making like an arm shape, we're gonna need something to help us get that shape. So what I'm gonna do is pull out one of my dapping tools that's kind of a similar shape to the one we're looking for, and we're going to give it our best shot. Now, one thing that's really important to keep in mind when using a shaping tool is you want to bend every part of the metal. And if you're not bending every part of the metal, well, you're not getting the proper shape. There we go. Oops. There we go. Perfect. Just like that. All right, now that we got those on, we can move on to step 15, which has us bending another piece here, but this time we're going to be forming it on the engraved side. So make sure that this time we're using the engraved side when we're doing this part of detail, and we're just going to get the bottom here kind of into a nice kind of half cylinder here. There we go. And now what we're going to do is form these sides. And what I'm going to do is bring in one like this. And I'm going to bring in the other one just like that. And then that tells me how much I need to bend this piece here. And again, we're going to use that multi-bend method where we're using multiple bends to get to the right shape and size here. Cool. Another piece done. Very easy. Now I'm going to place this down right here, and we get to move on to attaching parts 16, 17, 18, 18, and 19. This is kind of making a giant series. Actually, the last one's 20. A giant series of shin pads. I'm going to make one, and then after I make one, we're going to fast forward to where I have the one already complete. So what we do is we grab part 16 there, and then we're going to grab part 17, go all the way to the tab, grab as much of the tab in our tweezers as possible, and we're going to bend it right back. And again, we're going to make sure that the engraved side is on the outside because we want to see that really cool texture. Okay, like that. Again, same thing. This is actually a really easy part to do because all we're doing is just kind of combining all of our shapes. Now with the one piece here, we want to make sure that this one tab goes up. That's because we're going to be attaching a piece on here. Cool. And now we grab this guy here, and what we're going to do, same kind of thing as we've done the other ones, just bend it straight down, bend it straight down, grab the center. And don't you hate it when you forget that one little piece? It's always that one little piece you forget about. Always the one. All right, we got her now. I kind of had a feeling I was going to forget that piece too. When I first put it on, I was like, you know what? I'm going to forget a piece here, and it's going to look silly, or I'm going to put them in the wrong order. I thought that too, but no, I made sure to put them in the right order. Okay, and there we go. We have that one shin pad all complete. That took a little bit more time than I thought it would, but it does look really nice. Now that we have one done though, we got one more to complete. Let's go ahead and fast forward to where it's already done. Okay, make sure those are all nice and flush. And there we go, all complete. That looks pretty good. And there we go, we have all of our parts completed for that first page. Now, we need more parts. All right, and there we go. Our cutters are away, and we have all of our parts needed for that third page, or the second one, depending on how you look at it. Now, what we're going to need to do is take part 21 and put that arm together that we were building from the last page. So we're going to grab our two pieces here, and what we're going to do is kind of line them up. Now, it's important to make sure that when we're doing this step, that we are following the right pathway. Sorry, correction. It's important when we're doing this step to make sure that we are following the seam, it will make our lives a lot simpler. And you can also actually bend these tabs a little bit in just like this, and that'll help you too. Let's get this bottom one here first. There we go. Getting this top piece in here is actually a little bit more trickier than the rest of it. Now, that being said here, you know, getting this little top tab here is actually kind of tricky. I will say you got to be careful because the brass can definitely misshape a lot easier than some of the other pieces, especially the black ones there. Let's see here. These brass pieces they misshape so easily. But that also means they can be reshapen easily as well. Okay, that looks good. You know, I think I did okay here. I wish I would have done... Oh no. You know what I just realized, Groovers? I just realized that I bent this entire thing on the wrong side, which means I have to actually take it apart and bend it to the other side. Let's see how bad this is going to look and see if I can even do it. Okay, and there we go. Now we have the piece we need, and we can actually put everything together. So what we need to do is take these tabs here, and we're going to bend them 90 degrees, just like that. Go the other side here again, bend those guys 90 degrees, and there we go. Now we're going to insert them on one side. And you know what? Actually, instead of bending them 90 degrees on both sides, we're going to bend this one slightly less than that. And that should make things a little easier on us. Should. Doesn't mean it will. Cool. There we go. That looks pretty nice. And now we gotta bend that little piece that we were talking about earlier. This is part 21 here. We're just gonna grab that, bend her around. Very similar to what we've done before. And we're attaching this on. This is all just kind of layered detail that really does add to the piece. I'm gonna bend these tabs slightly up. And then that's gonna help me get this guy in place. Now we got our little hand piece here we can put on. And we need to make sure we're putting this on the right way too. We don't want to repeat of last time. So I'm going to do this. The thumb looks like it goes on the inside. Yep. And grab this. And we're going to twist this. Now I actually have a tab tool here, which is a lot better than those. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. And we're going to bend this into position. Okay, there we go. Our one arm is almost complete. We still need to get a couple more things attached to it. And what we're going to do first, before we go any further, is pop out these two tabs here on the top. Just enough where we can grab them a little bit later. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to seal the back up there. And if we don't have the tabs now, they're going to be a real pain in the butt to grab later. Okay, and now we're going to grab this little plate here, and what we need to do is kind of slightly bend it. We're just going to do it very slightly because we need to have the two tabs that are right here fit into the pads. Now, if you guys remember, in other builds that we've done, we've actually had a really hard time connecting details like this because these tabs tend to be very tricky to kind of guess correctly how they need to be bent. Let's see if we can get this one done simpler. Let's see if we can get this one done with any kind of ease, or if it's going to be a tricky one. Oh, it's locking up, so I'm definitely getting in there, but it's just a matter of that first tab. There we go. That first tab is in. Now, let's see if we can... I was like, wow, that was really easy to get that tab in, almost too easy, and it was because it was in the wrong place. You know, sometimes if things are too easy or if they're really hard, it's worth, you know, sometimes if things are too easy or even too hard, it's good to double check your work, because sometimes you can be putting it on the wrong way, or there could be something silly going on there. Just a little bit more pressure here. I don't want to apply too much. That top tab there is definitely a tricky piece to get in correctly. Now, I'm going to say that that's complete right now, but I think I might bend that a little bit more as we go on. Now, I know that this looks pretty much 99% complete, but we still need to put one more piece on, and that's part 23. Now, it's very important to take a look at this piece because you'll notice that there is an arrow on it. Now, that arrow, what that tells us is that the direction we're going to be putting this on is going to be going to the left. Now, that's important because there's two different pieces here, and if you put the wrong one on, your arm will be all wonky and you'll have to take the whole thing apart. Very, very big pain in the butt. So let's avoid that from the beginning and double check our parts here for part 23 and make sure that our arrow is going the right way. You can also do this with other pieces you're putting together, like we did earlier with our arm when we found out that it was actually the wrong way, by looking at the orientation of the part. Now, if I would have bent that correctly from the beginning, I would have known that right away, but, you know, I like to make things difficult on myself, like I said before. There we go. Cool. All right, put those two guys down right there. And now we can work on part 30. And part 30 is really simple because all we're doing is we're taking parts 31, and which is two pieces, these guys right here, and we're putting it onto part 30. The only thing we want to make sure is that we're putting everything on the proper way. So the engraved side here, those three circles, is important. And again, I just orientated the piece to the proper direction. And then we grab these guys right here. And these guys, we're just going to take all these tabs and bend them straight down. Very simple stuff here. Nothing crazy, but that layered detail again really does look awesome. Now, if you don't grab all the tab in your tweezers here, for the record, you will have some parts that overlap. Even myself, I tend to do that sometimes. Just keep that in mind if you're having a hard time. Oop, I forgot a tab. There we go. One piece inserted. Now we do the other one. Same thing as before. We're just going to go through and bend all of these down. Now, as I was saying before I got hyper-focused there, I will say that if you don't bend these tabs, if you don't grab all the tabs in your tweezers, what will happen is that the piece will be misaligned and you might have some issues. So always try to grab as much of the tabs in your tweezers as possible when you're bending your pieces. There we go. Okay, cool. And there we go. That looks awesome. I mean, I think it looks awesome. And now we need to bend this over something to kind of get us a good shape. So let's take this guy here. I think this is a good one to kind of go on. Now, typically, I like to start big and then work my way down to the proper size. I kind of went right for the proper size this time. I don't recommend doing this. You always want to start big and then work your way down. And the reason for that is you don't want to develop any kind of hot spots. And I can already see stress areas that I kind of developed just by me doing that. So I'm actually going to roll this a little bit, just try to get those out. Again, it's brass, right? So keep that in mind. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, now that we have this kind of done, we need to bend these pieces around and connect these guys in here. Now, what I've already done is bent these tabs in, and because I've done that, it actually makes everything a little bit easier. Again, we don't want to necessarily make this a sharp bend, so what we're going to do is kind of suggest it. We're just going to work it in like this. There we go. See? Just like that. Now, I'm going to do the same thing along the back here, and I'm going to grab right here, it looks like. I'm using the model here as an example of how I want to do this, because I'm trying to use the natural curve in the armor that would be there if this was a suit. Okay, now that we got that shape here, you can kind of see how the armor meets. And what we want to do is we want to actually get that to line up the best we possibly can. And the reason for that is, well, that kind of tells you how well you shape the part. And the reason for that is because that's going to tell you how well you shape the part. Keep in mind that these are all designed in like a 3D CAD program, and well, they do account for the bends being made. So if you can get everything correctly, it should look really awesome. All right, there we go. That is done. Now put that to the side, and now we can work on our belt, which is part 32. Now, part 32 is important that we, again, make sure we're doing this along the engraved side. And this is a very interesting shape, okay, because it's not a circle, it's kind of like a square. So what I'm going to do to try to achieve this shape is I'm going to use a couple of my tools. Now, looking at the picture, we can see that we need to bend it with these guys' prongs facing up. And it looks like our bend is just after, or just before, sorry, the first tab. So I'm going to do something like that. And then I'm going to go over here again and just after, like that. Like I said, I don't feel like this is a proper shape. And I can already say it's not because of how it almost looks like it's not, just off the bat. But we're going to connect it, and what we'll do is we will use another piece later on down the road to help us make sure that we can actually get the proper shaping here. So we have a kind of a shape, and that's good. That's all we need, a kind of ish shape. There we go. Our kind of ish shape. Oh, it's so pretty. Now let's go ahead and make this little box here on the front. This is a very simple thing to do. Just make sure you go right to those little bend corners there. Boom. Our little box. All done. Okay, let's put that down. Now, the next couple of pieces are pretty repetitive, so I went ahead and actually just bent all of them, and I'm going to do one for you here on camera to show the process. All we're doing is we're taking one of these guys here. This is going to be part 17, and we're going to be taking this tab and bending it down. Just like that. Now, once we have that bent down, we grab our other part here. You know, Leica is all over my mat. My goodness. All right, here we go. We're going to grab the tabs, and we're going to insert them right there. Okay. Oh, you're a stubborn one, aren't you? And with our last little piece there inserted, we have them all completed. See, it was actually really simple. It's just the same bit of detail, kind of just repeated over and over again. You do this 6 mind-numbingly times, and then after that, all we have to do is attach them all to part 36. Now, if we look at part 36 here, again, you're going to see an engraved side and a non-engraved side. We want to make sure we're putting these on the engraved side, and we're going to be taking our tabs here at the top, bending them down, and attaching them one by one on to part 36. That was a dramatic pause. Okay, now that was pretty complicated. I'm not gonna lie. Putting all of this on together with the way that these are placed, it's just tricky. Oh no, I dropped it. And you can see what I mean. Like the little pieces here, and because of how they're bent, it's almost like, you know, I feel like I almost want to twist these, but I know it's going to get in the way. It would be a better connection at the end of the day. I don't think these are super flush, so maybe I will end up actually twisting these just to make it easier for myself. And you know what? Let me twist mine, and you at home, if you want to do it too, you might have some issues. Okay, so if you're gonna follow me from this point, just understand that if we're gonna do this together, there might be some issues. All right, now they're all connected. What we need to do is we need to take this little box here, and we're gonna make a well, or take this piece here and make a box. I should say it's not a box yet. Just like that. Okay. And now we're going to put this in the middle. Part 37 there is actually pretty easy to install, so nothing too hard. Let's go ahead and put the belt on now. Let's put the belt like this. And like I said, the belt, we kind of got an idea of how to bend it, but now we are going to get it 100% how we should have bent it. Now, in my personal opinion, if you bend your models like me, you could have waited till right now to actually bend this piece, and you would have been okay to do so. Sometimes it's easier just to wait until you have the part in front of you in order to be able to bend these pieces correctly. And what I mean by that is, if we were to take a look at this part 32, if I didn't bend it before actually placing it on to part 36, you would have seen that I would have been able to get a really nice shaping right off the hat, rather than me playing around with the tabs like I am right now. Okay. Making sure that all of my tabs are in their spots, and they look like they are. So not bad at all. Okay, let's hold our guy in position here and begin securing. Exactly as I predicted. Okay, there we go. Now we can grab our armor piece and place it on top. You know, I actually bent these black pieces in, and I shouldn't have done that. So let's take that and unbend them. Just like that. And just like that. Now, like I said, this isn't even right now, so let's go ahead and make this even. So we're not going to get another chance to do so. There we go. That looks perfect. Can't ask for a better looking little piece of armor than that right there. That's for dang sure. Okay, now. I'm also surprised that it tells us to actually attach this on first, or this part last. I actually would have attached maybe this on first and then did the belt, just because it would have been a little bit easier. But you know me, I'm going to make things hard on myself, and I'm going to follow the instructions. Okay, there's the front. Huh, did I do it? Oh, there we go. I think I got her. Yes, I did. Okay, now we're going to secure these tabs. Let's just do one of these little guys. Turn you left. Turn you... Well, actually, it was the other way around, but you know what I meant. There we go. Okay, there we go. Awesome. And now with all of this connected, we actually need more parts. And there we have it, all of our pieces needed to build our armor. Now, I've already went ahead here and made one of our, if you will, kind of our shin pad and our feet area here. Because these details are exactly the same, I don't really want to waste the time in kind of building both. So let me show you how just to build this one right here. This is what it looks like. It's pretty cool, has a nice little tie on it. And how we get that is we start off with part number 38. And what we're going to do is, just like before, we're going to try to get a really nice cylindrical shape. And we really do need to make sure that we get every part of this metal bent. Now, I'm going to do this right here. This little rolling technique is a good way to start the rolling process, or start that forming process. There we go. And this is actually too small, so let's go here first. Okay, I got a little bit of a hot spot there on the front. I'm gonna try to roll it out if I can. That's just by putting a lot of pressure on it to kind of get it to unwarp there, and that worked out. That worked out pretty well. Now that we got, oh shoot a monkey. You know what I did here, guys? I forgot to put that little black piece of thing in there, so we're going to have to flatten this out. And the reason why we're going to have to flatten this out, that sucks, is because if you don't have this flat, when you go and you put this little part in here, you'll have a really hard time trying to get it in there. And just attach it flat, and then we'll bend the piece. I can't believe I did that. Silly, silly, disorderly cone. Awesome. Now that we have that attached, we can actually go and get the proper shaping that we should have gotten from the beginning. I can't believe I did that. I'm so silly. And what we're going to do here is, now that we made that little bit of a lock mechanism, what we're going to do is just kind of feed those tabs into their insertion holes, just like that. Boom. And boom. Okay, and now that we got that on there, that looks pretty good. I still want to kind of get some more definition here if I can. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab this little black tie here, and we're going to put it on the proper way. Always make sure that's the... There we go. Just going to keep pressing it there. Excellent. Now that little bow's on there, all we need to do is attach this little bottom piece. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just kind of form these guys in. What I'm doing is I'm doing multiple bends, and I'm making all of our petals here line up. We don't want to see any of those gaps. We want a really nice kind of dome shape here. I could have used my shaping tools to get this shape as well, but it's really a simple shape, so we could do this really easily with our tweezers and get a nice effect, just like that. See? And now we're going to take our little tabs here, straighten them out a little bit. And now we're going to grab this guy right here and put them in place. There we go. All we're doing again is just taking these little tabs here and lining them up. There we go. Excellent. All right. Now with that done, we get to move on to our next step, which is forming a box. And boxes are pretty simple. And all we're going to do first is put this little handle on, and we're going to bend these two little tabs back, just like that. And now with those tabs bent, we're going to go and place them into part 42. And there we go. Another handle. And now that we got these handles attached, we need to go ahead and put these together. Like this. Make sure again that we're putting these into the proper way. Now, if you don't know how to do this, I recommend twisting one tab, and then that way it creates some stability inside of the model, and then you can go around and attach everything. And then all you gotta do is go back and untwist those tabs that you twisted and just fold them over. Pretty simple, right? I think so. Just grab that. There we go. All right. Now we have our box built. As you can see, it's kind of wibbly wobbly like this. So we need to actually be very careful while handling it. We're going to go ahead and place this down right here for right now. And we're okay, there we go. Our box is complete. It's a little wibbly wobbly, but don't worry. We're going to put part 46 here on top. And it's very important to make sure that these two little dots here are going the way of our Japanese writing and not of the way of the handles. Okay, now let's go ahead and place this down. Of course, there is only one way this can actually fit on, but you never know. If you accidentally cut off one of those tabs or not paying attention like me sometimes, you know, you might just somehow get it in there and you're like, whoa, how did that even happen? Okay, straighten those guys out, and there we go. We have our box there complete. Now we can grab part 47 here, and what we're going to do with part 47 is we're going to attach the feet that we did from earlier, and they go on just like these. And there we go. Grab these guys here. Just do a nice little twist. There we go. Grab the other one here as well. Do the same thing We're going to make sure these guys are right nice and out, though, just so they get easily inserted. Awesome. Okay, now we can take this here and place this onto our box. And what I'm going to do here now is just kind of fold this over like that. Okay, and now we're going to grab these guys and bend them right down. There we go, just like that. And now we get to put everything on top that we've already built as well. But before we go and kind of commit to doing that, we need to bend some of these here and get them looking a little bit more uniform. So let's do that with some of our shaping tools. Now when it comes to bending these guys here, what I'm doing is I'm taking my shaping tool and I am just YOLOing this as hard as I can into the piece. And I'm trying to be as dead center as possible. And it's very important to make sure that when we're pressing our forming tool into these pieces, that we're being as uniform with the shape as possible. You don't want to bell necessarily on these pieces. So just keep that in mind. Now I do think also too it's only supposed to be like kind of a small bend, but I'm doing this now. It's supposed to be later on down the road in the instructions, but yeah, I feel like if I don't do this now, I don't know how you're going to be able to do it later. To be totally honest, you're going to be just having a really hard time. Now if these are a little bit crooked, it's okay because we can fix them out a little bit later as well when we have everything attached. Okay, now that I got those guys kind of semi bent, I'm going to do the first one here just a little bit more because the other ones I definitely pressed harder into. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to attach. Oh, it fell off. Okay, well, I'll fix that in a moment. Cool. That's that attached. And now what I'm going to do is what I should have done from the beginning is I'm going to twist these guys. I'm going to make them 90 degrees, just like that. And then I'm going to bring this up and attach her on. Okay, I think I managed to get that back on and securely. So now that we have that secure, we get to put our arms on, which go on just like so. Now you might have to play with that little back area here to get that on correctly. I'm going to use my shaping tool here, my dapping set tool, to kind of help me play with this correctly and get that right shape. I also don't want to accidentally knock off any of the detail that I worked so hard to put on, especially with that finicky shoulder that we already know exists. Okay. There we go. Cool. That looks so good. And now all we have to do is just put the head on and, well, put a little tie on. So let's put our tie right here and grab our little head and see if we can get this on with as little amount of trouble as possible. What I'm going to do is start with the front tab and then do the back one. And the reason for that is because we have more detail in the front. It's going to be harder to get that tab into place. So, you know, start with the hard part, end with the easy one. I think what I'm going to do too is maybe tilt the tab forward just a little. Okay. That little press there. Awesome. And now we just need to put this little bow on here. Wow, that went on a little bit easier than I was originally anticipating. I always think that that last one is always going to be the worst part. All right, and there we go. We have our armor all complete. And look at that. That looks really awesome.